Hey, I'm Peter Bukowski, host of the Locked On Today podcast. Trying to stay on top of every big story in sports is a full-time job. I know, because it is my full-time job, but it's not yours. That's why we have a network of local experts ready to give you the inside scoop on everything you truly need to know in the sports world, and we do it every day to make sure you're always caught up on the latest and greatest in sports. Listen to the Locked On Today podcast every day on the Odyssey app or wherever you get podcasts.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
People. Ron and I plugging along today, assisted by one Robert Pompiani. Bob is brought to you by PNC Bank. Make today the day. We love having Bob on.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, money.
You had cachet and also increased the, what would you call it, Ron? The gross net worth of the show, I think, is the best way to phrase it. Yes?
Just him being on with us elevates us to unforeseen heights.
Bob? Any comment?
Joe? No, I'm just happy to be here. Like I said, it's always fun to get on with you guys and talk about what's going on.
At noon, you're going to have a showdown, yes?
Yes, a showdown pitting Ron Cook against Joe Starkey. It's always fun.
We look forward to that. I'm getting remedies here, by the way. People sending me, tweeting me on muscle relief in my back. In fact, my nurse, when I was out with the staph infection, the home nurse, I decided to tweet her because she's not busy enough with people who have actual problems. I tweeted her or texted her and said, what about a muscle pull in the back? And she is a nice little remedy, Bob. This some sort of cream or gel that I can put in there. Should I take some sort of pain relief injection, like, I don't know, Jerome Bettis before a playoff game?
Steroids.
Yes. Should I do that, Bob? Is it worth it?
No. That'll mess up your swing largely. No, I
don't have
that.
a swing.
What I would do, yeah, I bet you getting better. You just said you played 18 holes. You wouldn't have been able to do that if you don't have a swing.
Well, I mean,
so I would say
I
rest.
hit a bunch of balls in the water. I hit them directly to my. One time I was standing.
Tell them about your first and last shot.
I'm looking directly at the pin, okay? It was an iron. I don't know what kind of iron. But I was looking directly at the pin with a pond to my right, like directly to my right, and somehow I shot it directly to my right. It was a miracle shot, Bob, but it went in. I can't even shoot the thing anywhere near straight, and there's a chance that anybody to the left or right of me could be killed.
Tell them about your first and last shot of that event.
I will. Hold on. I want Bob's response to that.
No, the problem is you're looking at the things you shouldn't be looking at, Joe. You're distracted. Seriously, golf is as mental a sport as you'll ever play, and if you got to, number one, trust what you're doing, but number two, you have to look at your target and nothing else. If you start worrying about, oh, there's sand over here, oh, there's water over here, what about this tree? It's in your mind. And once it's in your mind, you will never be able to get it through.
I wasn't worried about it.
Swing.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
No, I wasn't. You saw a pond.
It seemed physically impossible, and I'm talking literally about physics, that I would hit it in the pond. I had to hit it.
It's called a shank.
Yes. Not even a shank. I mean, it was against every law of physics that I would hit in the pond from where I was. I wasn't even thinking about it, and yet I did. But my first shot and last shot, Bob, thank you, Ron, for prompting me on that. The first shot, maybe I overestimated at 250 yesterday, Ron. Maybe it was more like 220. But it was a straight, powerful drive, my first shot at Montour the other day. And my last shot was a 25-foot breaking putt that tied our little matchup. It tied it. It was a miracle. However, literally every shot I hit between the first and last one was disastrous. Anywhere from poor to disastrous.
But those two will bring you back. They keep you going.
Right. That's right.
It's final spasm of a dying man.
That's a nice way to phrase it. All right, let's look at the Steelers' offense here, because God knows when all else fails, we talk about the Steelers' offense. What do you this was a headline, by the way, and on Steelers Depot, and I found the story interesting because when you look at Matt Canada's history at Pitt and elsewhere, the fullback becomes part of his offense. And the fullback has been a talking point since I've been on the air here, even though the Steelers never use one. Somehow it remains a talking point 11 years later. Is Derek Watt going to become part of this offense, Ron?
What was the guy's name at Pitt? Was it George
Aston.
He was like
Aston.
he was like a huge part of that
Yes.
offense, wasn't he? I would think so. I mean, he's on the roster. They're paying him now. I don't know what
They're paying him too much. Would you agree?
Yeah. I don't know what Tomlin has the final say in this, and I mean, his coordinators have never believed in the fullback. Going back to Fichtner, going back to Todd Haley, going back to Bruce Arians, none of them ever did. Although I find it amusing that. Was it in the Cleveland playoff game? They had the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1.
Yes, I'm looking right at it.
And they gave the ball to Watt, right?
Yes.
He hadn't carried it all year, and they gave it to him in a critical situation. I would think this would be the year, if there is one, Bob, that they go more to Watt than they ever have, because I do think back to George Aston. He was a big part of their offense. Now, he was a real man among college players, right?
Yeah, he was.
But
I also think it's
an
element of surprise there. I mean, you have him there, and they gave him a lot of money, and for the money, that's not what he should be doing. He should be doing more, and I think this year may be the time to do it. I think it's just another thing that you hope defenses have to prepare for. You don't have to do it a lot, but you have to do it enough to make him think he's in there. What's going to happen next? And I think that's the whole premise of what goes on with Matt Canada. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of design confusion, hopefully, if it works right. And then the defense has to account for a lot of people, Joe.
It's not like the fullback is just gone from pro football. I mean, watch the Ravens. Watch the Titans. Watch other teams. The
49ers
Patriots
too.
from time to time. 49ers, big time. Yes. I mean, you can use that to augment your running game. Merely by having him on the field blocking. So I'd like to see more of that. I'm not saying, I want to see him on the field for every play. I just don't want to not ever see him on the field at all. And again, Steelers Depot has a couple of great clips here of Derek Watt and different things he can do. And I don't want to overdo it. He's not some sort of superstar, but here's a great clip of him leaking out of the backfield against Horses Broncos when he was with the Chargers and Phillip Rivers. It's like a 40-yard pass, ultimately, down the right sideline. Smoked all the Broncos. You remember that play, Horse? Derek Watt against Denver?
Yes.
You do? Do you really?
Yes.
Did it make you angry?
Yes.
It's a night. I mean, he can catch. He proved that in college. He can block. And to a certain degree, he can run. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to use him, Ron, aware that there's like 90 guys on this offense who need to see the ball.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. Again, maybe, as Bob said, the element of surprise. But I truly wonder how he's going to be able to keep everybody happy as it is. And as long as you win, that's great. But when you start to lose, that's when there's discord. They got, 4 really good receivers, 5 if you count Ray, right? And they keep speaking highly of him. They got 2 tight ends. You got your number 1 running back in Harris. Now, if you're going to find room for a fullback, I don't know how he does it, Bob.
Well, again, I don't think you have to use it all that much, but there's a design that is to keep the defense off balance, and having him in there, if you utilize him especially here and there, and all of a sudden they have to worry about that could free up, and all it takes is a little bit of that to allow somebody else to get free. But I think this is going to be a fun offense to watch. I really do. I'm just curious to see how much of the run-pass balance will occur this year, especially early in the season. And if it has success, how long it lasts.
Well, I think the answer to that question, Ron, is he doesn't. I mean, there's no way to keep everybody happy. I don't think he did last year to a certain degree. I think James Washington was happy with his role last year. Well, Chase Claypool played 50% of the snaps even as a rookie. When you're 11-0,
it's a little bit easier to be happy, but then at the end when they fade, probably right. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it all comes down to, if he uses players and they have their roles and they win games, it's a lot easier to accept, Bob.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, at that point, you can't really do anything. If so, you're looked at totally differently. So, and all those guys, I'm one of those people, if I was a coach, I'd be happy with competition at every position. That's what you really need. You need guys to dig deep to try to win something. No guarantees. And I think with that wide receiving core, James Washington showed improvement last year when he was on the field deep. He made some big plays, but it's going to be hard to get the kind of playing time. That to me bodes well for the drop issue that Deontay Johnson had, that Eric Ebron had. Now there are people over there, if you're going to keep doing that, you're not going to play as much as you would like to play. And I think Deontay Johnson has made a concerted effort to try to change that here, guys. He's worked hard on that, and hopefully that'll help him.
Well, I think he worked hard on it last year. I think after Tomlin benched him for the first half of that game, my memory serves like he got a lot better and the drops kind of went away. And it's just a concentration focus thing. I still, I may be the only one. I still think he is their most talented receiver. I'm not sure Claypool doesn't have the highest ceiling, but I think Joe is their best receiver. And, obviously he has to be better without those drops.
Well, Ben might agree. The numbers would indicate that he threw to Johnson more than any player on the field.
He still calls Juju his number one guy, though.
That's not what the numbers say.
Yeah, but I mean,
he doesn't throw to him as much as he throws to Deontay, even though he drops it.
Sometimes in those, the key situations, though, the third downs, he's going to Juju. But
yes.
You're right. I mean, the numbers, Johnson by, a significant amount, like at least a target a game, was the most targeted guy.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to know who a quarterback's favorite receiver is. If that's the question, then I would pose the question back to you. I don't know. Who does he throw to the most? And the answer is Deontay. So you could at least make an argument that Ben would agree with you. I don't care if these guys are happy. I really don't. And by the way, I think that last year, for example, even when things went awry a little bit at the end of the season, it wasn't like there were any major problems. Like, I don't see any of these guys. Ebron had an issue in Indy. There's no doubt about that. But I think for the most part, these guys, they have to understand that there's a bunch of playmakers on offense. I think the one guy who's going to get everything he wants and more is Najee.
Oh,
and I think everybody else
absolutely.
is going to get less than they would draw up.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to be the bell cow, right? He's going to be the main ball toter, if you will, and he's also going to be used in the passing game. I think they're going to, what's Tomlin, run the wheels off of him, so to speak. And I think that's going to be from day one, Bob.
Bob, do you think Juju becomes unhappy? Here's to me the main question if we're talking who's happy and not happy with this offense and their role in it. I think it's wondering if Juju, because it seems that he came back with a few conditions. One, he was going to be used on the outside more. I think that's the big one, really, actually, is he's going to get more action on the outside so that he can increase his value on the open market. Do you think that's going to happen? And if it doesn't, what happens?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're a better team when he's in the slot and they use other guys. I don't, however, think that that's going to be exclusively the way he's used. I do think there'll be times when they put him out there, but that's not going to be his primary area of operation.
Will they put him out there more? Will they put him out there more and give him a chance to make plays on the outside?
I think he's shown the ability to do that. But again, if you do that, who goes inside there and who takes that role? They have too many other guys who can do the outside. They don't have anyone, in my view. I don't care what he says about Ray McLeod, who may be on the arrow up path, but
why are we
Juju
talking
Smith-Schuster
about Ray McLeod? Because Juju
he's
got no role on this team. He's like 10th string.
But that's the point
Kickoff
of
returns.
Juju here trying to go to the outside.
Returns we're not talking about.
Well,
we're talking
but
about
he'll make
receiving.
the team, so he'll have a role, and then he'll probably be using, the
jet sweep?
The jet
that
sweeps.
didn't work by the end of last season. Ray McLeod, I can name 8 guys they're going to go to before
I'm
him.
just telling you, he's going to have a role in the offense, not just as a return guy.
I disagree. I don't think he's going to see the field. I don't think he's going to see the field.
He'll be on there a little bit. It won't be maybe as much, but my point is Juju's a victim of his own production. He was very good at that role. And so now because you're good at it, you're going to get more of it. And there's still a lot to be said for, converting third down plays. There's a value in that. It may not be as much as he's going to do for.
What are the numbers there? What are the numbers on third down catches for the Steelers last season? I would like to see Juju compared to Deontay Johnson because it seems to me that Deontay had a bunch of those too. and
did.
Chase Claypool.
All I
Right.
know
But
is,
again, in different positions.
all I know is Roethlisberger was quoted this spring as saying, "Is there a better guy in the league to throw it to on 3rd and short or 3rd and medium than Juju? I don't think so." And that's what he believes. And, how many times did we see him 3rd and 4? He'll throw a 2 or 3 yard pass to Juju, and he fights his way for that first down.
Juju had 48 first down catches. Deontay had 45, and Chase had 41. Ben also says James Washington is a guy who needs to be involved
He
more.
did lobby for him.
At some point.
He's trying to keep everybody happy.
Including Ray McLeod?
Well, he's not. I haven't heard him talk about Ray. Some
Well,
of
the
the
only
other,
way
some of
they're
the
all
other
gonna be
guys
happy.
have.
Somebody's going to be unhappy, but it's also a 17-game season. So
Guys
I would
will get hurt.
imagine at some point guys are going to see the field,
Right.
including
And
Freiermuth.
that killed the Steelers last year, and it does a lot of teams, especially defensively. But yeah, there'll be some opportunities because of injury. But the bottom line here is if you make plays, you'll get more opportunity to make plays, and if you don't, you won't. But I still think, regardless of who's going to be happy, the number one thing that makes everybody happy is an offensive line can do its job with so many young people at key positions. That more than anything will determine who else is happy.
Winning, right?
Winning.
Yeah.
And we'll see about Ebron and blocking, because if they're this committed to a run game and you have a tight end who is either unable or unwilling to block, that to me, that's a major issue. It is. And you could point to a number of plays last season. So is predictability, by the way. Let's talk about that next. I have a number here that's pretty remarkable that I'm going to read to you next that would indicate just how predictable the Steelers were last season offensively.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.